Coming up, the One Detroit team picks their favorite stories of the year. You'll see the infamous Macomb County Fatberg. Hear the techno beats from the growing ranks of female DJs. Listen to the stories of burlesque history in Detroit from Lottie the Body herself. And learn from the stage about a young man's struggle with race and identity. I'm Christy McDonald. Join me. It is the best of One Detroit coming up.
Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV. The Detroit Journalism Engagement Fund, Business Leaders for Michigan, and by
How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television.
Also brought to you by Ally, Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Christy McDonald, and welcome to One Detroit. Thanks so much for joining me at Commonwealth Cafe in Birmingham. We have a great show for you this week, and a little something different. These are some of my favorite shows. We work each week to cover the big stories and bring you reports with depth and context and longer interviews to really give you a sense of the biggest issues in our area. But we also like to find stories that we end the show with. Thought-provoking, sometimes funny, always memorable. So I asked our crew at One Detroit to come up with their favorite stories that we've done over the year and introduce them to you. You get to see me every week, so this is a great opportunity for you to get to know our crew a little bit better and enjoy more One Detroit stories. Bill, take it away.
Hi, I'm Bill Kubota, senior producer for One Detroit. The story I picked involves a legend in our midst, Lottie Graves Claiborne, better known as Lottie the Body. She was a dancer of the exotic variety who worked stages across the country before settling in Detroit in 1960. She rubbed elbows with everybody who was anybody. And this past summer, she took us to one of her old haunts, the Brass Rail Show Bar in the heart of Detroit.
It might still be. The old Brass Rail.
It doesn't work. Empowering people to.
He didn't have it outside no kind of way. Hi.
Hi.
I am Lottie the Body of the original Brass.
You are Lottie the Body.
Yes.
I told you about her. Welcome.
Wow.
Thank you.
Welcome
Give me a
here.
hug.
Awesome.
I am so honored to meet you.
Same here.
I am so
But
honored.
you know, I
Come on in.
okay.
Yeah.
I was a headliner. I had so many people coming. I'm fine. How are you?
You want to sing here?
No. We used to line up the people that was parking, chauffeurs. See, the bar was on the other side.
Yes. I was telling
And going
him about
downstairs was right
the
here.
stairs.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So what's down there now?
Just storage.
Yeah. This picture here. Okay. 1954. This is an oil painting on the canvas. And that was done in Syracuse. I was doing some modeling for the Syracuse University. And a young man in there, his name was Pee Wee. My name is Lottie. But he said, hey, you have a body, and I think it should be named Lottie the Body. And that's how I got Lottie the Body, by Pee Wee.
You were okay with that when he said that?
Oh, on that I looked, and I was getting money for it, you know. I was very.
Thinking about trying to reach out to you and invite you here.
Oh, really?
Yes.
The Fords and all of those people used to come out here to see the show downstairs. It was really a place of dinner. In here, the best corned beef they'd ever had. This was just a place where Will Chamberlain and all the guys would come down here because I was here, and they would come. The Tigers, but they were from the old.
The old stadium.
Yeah, old stadium. And people would come from all over because they had the longest bar was in here. You know what? I had 2 hips replacement. Oh, we used to run down these stairs. I brought Stevie Wonder here when he was 11.
Wow.
You got it?
Whew. And you would go downstairs. The brass rail was downstairs, and you had to be properly attired. Okay, this is the hole downstairs, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the Ivanhoe room was up there.
Upstairs?
Up there.
Okay.
The dressing rooms was over here. And over here was just about where you could sit, small tables, and a booth that ran all the way around. You know what would be named?
What?
To make this a strip club.
Yes, I agree.
Because they're called burlesque. Michigan burlesque. Who would have ever thought that I'd be like this? We never know.
Hi, I'm Zosette Guir, managing producer for One Detroit. I live in Macomb County, known for Kid Rock, Eminem, and now Fatbergs. It's a topic that's as disgusting as it sounds, but also strangely fascinating. Get ready to learn a lot about fatbergs, where they are, and what we can do to prevent them. Major props to our associate producer, Will Glover, and the Great Lakes Now team for braving the smell to cover the story so you don't have to.
Our tale begins in Macomb County, Michigan, at the Clintondale Pump Station.
Before we go inside, I have to warn you, this story is disgusting, and I don't like disgusting. So of course, my wonderful coworkers decided I'd be perfect to cover a story about things that we find in the sewer. This is a sewage pump station, and in 2018, they found something big in a sewer not far from here. Will Glover, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm here to meet Macomb County Public Works Commissioner Candace Miller. If there's sewer problems, they're her problems.
Let's just cut to the chase. What is a fatberg?
Well, a fatberg is something that sometimes sewer systems, they're found in the sewer systems. Macomb County found one made up of greases and oils that people have put down their drain rather than disposing of them properly in their garbage. And our particular fatberg was 19 tons, 100 feet long,
100 feet
11
long?
feet wide, and 6 foot tall. That was our fatberg.
That's a gigantic clog. And if it gets too big, it can mean raw sewage backs up into basements or gets released into rivers or lakes. The fatberg removal cost $100,000. Its discovery came as Miller's team was looking more closely at what was going on beneath. A few years before Miller became commissioner, an aging sewer pipe collapsed, causing a sinkhole. Part of a major street and a house fell in, repairs costing many tens of millions of dollars. A big story, but the fatberg, that was even bigger.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
With a piece of the fatberg by her side, Commissioner Miller invited the press to come by and see it. The fatberg had its star turned in the fall of 2018.
But as I say, we want to use this as a teachable moment if we can for folks to try to change people's behavior of what they're putting down the sewers.
What behavior does she want you to change? Well, this is a flushable wipe, and Candace Miller wants you to stop flushing things like this down the drain. Because once this gets in the sewer system, it can form what's called a rag ball. And once oil and grease and dirt and trash get caught up in this, it can start to form a gigantic fatberg.
The wipes were the binding agent for the Macomb County fatberg.
How do you get this stuff out of the sewer or out of the water system?
Well, what you can see here is what we call the rake. And so this thing literally goes down very deep into our wet well here, and it is pulling up these wipes, these rags as we call them. And they dump them right into a bin, right? A trash bin here.
No.
A big dumpster.
Oh my goodness. That
and
is
so
terrible.
we get several of these dumpsters a week. at this particular facility, just full of these wipes.
It looks foul, but the smell is diabolical. Most of the Fatberg is now in a landfill, but some of it is being studied at Wayne State University's Integrative Biosciences Center, where Tracy Baker looks after it.
So you have an actual piece of the Fatberg here in this lab, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And so were you really excited when you found out you were going to be working and studying a Fatberg? Were you like, yay?
I was a little maybe timid at first.
Yeah.
Carol Miller had contacted me asking if I would be interested in studying the Fatberg. I had to kind of look up what a Fatberg was before I made that decision.
Carol Miller, no relation to Candace Miller, was the driving force behind getting the Fatberg into the laboratory.
I'm very interested in what goes through our pipes, so when this huge backup occurred in Macomb County, I thought, wow, this is exactly my sort of stuff.
Baker, Miller, and a team of students are getting to know the Fatberg up close and personal.
So your hands are in the tank, you're
Right.
moving stuff around.
So we're just looking to see what we can find in the Fatberg. It's mostly plastic and wipes. We found a bunch of tampon applicators, and we can see like sheets like this, which is just wipes, looks like.
Is there anything in these Fatbergs that you guys have pulled out that you're like surprised by? Like, I never thought that would be in a sewer, much less here with me now.
Mustard packets. Yeah.
Mustard packets?
Yeah, it just looks like somebody's trash can.
What are we trying to find out?
We're trying to find out what sort of compounds are included in a Fatberg. We want to know a little more about what sort of chemicals are involved in a Fatberg and how could those impact us if bypasses occur and the raw sewage goes into the river. And then we drink that water. So what we put into the water eventually comes back into our body. So we'd like to know about what's in those pipes.
Yeah, you just made your job exponentially more important when
There
you
you
put
go.
it that way.
We think that it's probably acting as a sponge because the wipes kind of absorb. So I think that
Right.
it could definitely be concentrating chemicals, and then the bacteria, because it's sitting in sewage for a long amount of time, like the bacteria, many different kinds of bacteria, potentially harmful ones, could be accumulating.
So when you're looking at bacteria, is that like a DNA test? Like you're testing the DNA to see which bacteria, to identify the bacteria?
Exactly, yeah. So we take parts of the Fatberg and then we're able to do an extraction. We concentrate it and then do an extraction, and then we do DNA sequencing to look at all the different bacteria that are part of it.
It's 23andMe, but for a Fatberg.
Exactly.
Okay.
The research also comes back to the biggest issue concerning this Fatberg mess. It's these wipes. When they go down the drain, how do they break down?
This is a wipe that said that it was flushable after 48 hours.
I don't think that's going to go through.
I don't think so either.
I'm not the smartest man in the world, but
So you can see that is almost fully intact.
yeah. And this is flushable.
This is a flushable wipe, yep. As you can see, didn't break down. And that's basically what we see for almost all of the wipes that we've been looking at.
And giving the wipes more time doesn't seem to help.
This particular wipe has been in this water for over a year.
A year?
And it looks like you just put it in there a minute ago.
It looks brand new.
It looks brand new.
There are defenders of flushable wipes, which are a worldwide multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry.
The Responsible Flushing Alliance, yes, it's a real thing. It's an industry group. Says that it's not flushable wipes that's the problem. It's people flushing things like paper towels, feminine hygiene products, and other non-flushable items down the toilet. But the folks specializing in sewage say you shouldn't flush anything but toilet paper. No wipes of any kind, no matter what they say.
You know, if you pick one of those up in the grocery store and it says flushable and you're using it, you're thinking, oh, flushable. I'm flushing it, right? I'm going to flush it down the toilet.
Right.
Must be all right. Says so right there, you know, on the packaging. Actually, it's a nationwide problem, and even internationally. In fact, London just had to deal with a big Fatberg. New York has a big Fatberg. They're around, and it's because of all these wipes.
There's no safe sewer system anywhere.
No, and we're doing it to ourselves. I think that Congress should be passing some legislation that outlaws them from packaging with those words on there, that they're flushable. They should say non-flushable, non-biodegradable. And other than that, if they just did that, that would be fine.
Hi everyone, I'm Daphne Hughes, show producer for One Detroit. When I'm not working, and sometimes even when I am working, I love listening to music. It doesn't matter if it's R&B, jazz, hip hop, classical, gospel, or techno. I enjoy it all. There's just something about music that relaxes me, uplifts, and transports me to another place in time. That's why my favorite story featured the upbeat sounds of the very talented female DJs at the Charivari Detroit Music Festival.
Gia Detroit is my DJ name, and I've been in the city a very long time. I like techno and house music, and that's primarily what I prefer to DJ. I listened to Hot Wax's set yesterday. It was very techno. I'm like, okay, Hot Wax, that was techno. Like, you know, and I know she loves house. She loves everything.
I had decided that I was going to be a DJ in the late 70s, early 80s, and that's when I would consider myself a professional because I was paid to play.
Now, I am serious about my craft, and I have fun, and every day I'm teaching somebody, every day. There's so many different aspects to it, and especially now, and I love technology, so I'm constantly reinventing and bringing something else in it, and you know, between two controllers, you have to remember, I started with just records and a mixer. Now you got controllers and CD players and all kind of gadgets to do all kind of things, and that's all fine and good, but if you don't play the right song, it means nothing.
I definitely still call her, you know, get her advice on things, go by her house and practice. Equipment is very expensive, so there have been many times when I'd be like, hey, I'm doing this like festival or some performance, like, could I please practice on your equipment? And she'd be like, come on. So she's definitely a godmother. Like, that's her nickname, the godmother of house. She's a straight up godmother as well. You know, obviously she has many DJ children, and I'm one of them.
My father was always kind of a promoter within the Detroit house DJ community. So I remember growing up literally probably before I could even be considered, you know, a person to be at a party. I was going just because I loved the music and loved watching the DJs. So that was really how I fell in love with it. And I remember my dad coming home with CDs, you know, of you know, mixes from Detroit DJs, and he'd give them all to me because I'd sit there for hours and go through them. I just really loved the music. With me being new to the DJ world, but you know, I wouldn't know it from firsthand, but I have heard from other female DJs, it is, you know, it can be a little intimidating or intense to try to hold your own being just the one female, knowing you have a bunch of these males like, yeah, I'm the headliner, you know, there's that dominance that comes into play. So I think just the more women come together and set the tone to come in and it's really just about equaling it out. It's not one versus the other, but we have to come together and like push our way in, like, yeah, we're here and we're killing it, you know. So it's been very inspiring to see it, all different women, all different walks of life, race, you know, sexuality, like everything. It's definitely beautiful to see how many women are out there just like setting, doing their own thing and having a style and skill, you know, it's beautiful.
Hey, I'm Will Glover, associate producer for One Detroit. I chose the story about spoken word poet Kane Smeigo. When I heard the Detroit Public Theater commissioned his one-man show called Temples of Lung and Air, I wanted to do the story. Kane talks about being a white kid with a black stepfather and a love for hip-hop, wrestling with race and identity as he grows up. This hits home for me because I grew up a young black punk rocker in a white Detroit suburb, also dealing with competing narratives about who I was supposed to be. Kane's show challenges our perceptions on race and culture. Take a look.
My name is Kane Smeigo, and I'm the writer-performer of Temples of Lung and Air.
In the States, hip-hop was born as liberation music, a soundtrack for the urban struggle birthed by DJ Kool Herc.
The story in the play is about my upbringing and growing up with parents who are white who were split up, and my mother's partner who was like a second father figure to me who was black, and my grandparents who lived with my dad and my older brother who were white, and kind of growing up between two worlds and two conflicting narratives. So that these kind of questions were always on my mind, even when I was very young and didn't understand the context as much as I did as I got older. Finding a way to talk about those things in a more focused, kind of deliberate way through the arts has been part of my career. But obviously, creating something in 90 minutes that's kind of a cohesive story, that was the big challenge. This is a new world for me, so I want to be pushed. I want to develop new skills. I want to grow. And that's where kind of the acting comes in, and being able to fully embody those kind of things. And Joseph was instrumental in kind of pushing those limits.
I'm interested sort of in what's underneath our experience in our culture, and where conflicts and resistance and lack of connection lies, and what performance can do to sort of change that conversation. Performers like Kane open those doors in beautiful ways. He brings such a wonderful toolbox that we get to play with, that it makes the dynamics of the piece worthy of like a one-person show where things keep on shifting and changing, and just when you think you know what he can do something else.
So thinking about, all right, now I have 90 minutes to move between these different kind of mediums, to communicate in every way that I possibly can as a person, the ideas and the emotions that I want to get across.
He does this poem of borders, which makes us think about all types of borders and all types of ways in this moment of, and then this new moment of anti-immigration that we're experiencing, so that it just sort of explodes the notion of that one idea.
I've never felt more hip-hop than right here, right now.
It's about grappling and wrestling with big questions around race, around the way that we learn the language of race, around culture, cultural appropriation, authenticity. And it's also, there are entertaining parts of it too. Like there's gonna be some funny moments, some exciting moments, there's some double time rap in there. Like there's a little bit of everything. So I hope to take people on a journey that gets them to reflect on their own kind of complex relationship to race and identity in America.
I think there's ways in which we don't think about ethnicity, race, background, ideas of co-option, where art comes from, who gets to own art. I just think all of those questions are really interesting. I think explaining white privilege to white people is very complicated. They don't quite understand it. I think that gets explored in interesting ways.
Proving that we ain't spinning different records, just remixing the same song, and I've been wrong.
And I think, again, sort of being surprised by how you're taken into an idea that you don't think about and then start thinking about it opens up a whole bunch of opportunities for discussion, change, transformation, or just a little adjustment just a little adjustment. Just maybe I'll think twice about that idea.
I'd like to try that just in the transition with the slide.
When I perform, my favorite kind of audience is a diverse audience because I can connect on those different levels. And so it's always fun to have folks who are hip hop heads in the room who get it, right? Who are gonna get all the references, who understand the medium and gonna vibe with it, right? That's the most fun. They're the most lively and the most responsive audience.
Gold ropes and fat laces and back brace for cats in the rat race, and I may have been sold down, spun round, pawned off, commodified, Spotify, chopped, screwed, auto-tuned.
I also feel like, white folks, especially white men, are like the audience that I feel most responsible for reaching. I feel like I have a responsibility to connect with those folks and to bring up the kind of hard questions that the piece asks about my relationship to the culture and about, I think, white folks' relationship to racialism in the United States and the history. So all that to say, I love mixed audiences because I want them to have that experience together with me, to ask those hard questions and to also enjoy themselves, and to hopefully let it be a seed for a continued dialogue that happens outside of the show. When it's all over and the lights go off, I hope that those conversations will spark new ones.
Ain't I always been right on time? Ain't I been chameleon medicine, whatever you needed me to be to heal all your brethren, to patch a gaping wound the size of a crack house or a a trailer park festering of a bleeding city, trying desperately to clap.
And that'll do it for One Detroit. Thanks to Daphne, Bill, Will, and Zosette for sharing their favorites with us, and to our whole staff who work hard each week to bring you the show. We will be back next Thursday with another One Detroit. I'm Christy McDonald, and I'll see you then.
Show your support for local independent journalism on Detroit Public TV by joining us as a sustainer at dptv.org/OneDetroit. Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Support also provided by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first. The Cynthia and Etzel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV. The Detroit Journalism Engagement Fund, Business Leaders for Michigan, and by
How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television.
Also brought to you by Ally, Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you. Thank you.